there's been a string of sleaze scandals. I'm sure the last thing Rishi Sunak wanted was another one, and certainly there'll be questions about whether they were deliberately trying to go slow to sort of brush it under the carpet and hope that it never saw the light of day. That's certainly a conclusion that the campaign manager has come to, according to what she's told friends. Hi, I'm Billy Kenber and I'm Senior Investigations Reporter at The Times. So the story that we've broken overnight reveals that a Conservative MP, Mark Menzies, is under investigation by the party over allegations that he's misused funds given by donors for campaigning and that he's used those for his personal expenses instead, and also that he's abused his position by asking staff members for their own money. So this really traces back to an extraordinary phone call that was made in the early hours of the morning in early December last year when Mark rang his former campaign manager, a 78-year-old woman, and told her that he'd fallen in with bad people and was being detained against his will in a flat by people that were only going to let him out if he paid them £5,000. He wanted her to transfer money from this campaign fund to pay for it, and she refused to do that, but ultimately a different Tory member, a staff member of Mark's, transferred him the money from her own personal savings and was later reimbursed from that campaign fund. So alongside that incident in December and the money that resulted from that, there are some earlier transactions involving a total of £14,000 where money from the campaign fund was transferred to Mark's personal bank account and he used that money for private medical expenses. So we're talking about a total of about £20,000 that has come out of this campaign fund for purposes other than campaigning. Accounts differ. It's alleged that he had told the local Conservatives who controlled the account that he would repay the money, that it was considered a loan and that he never did. He says that they suggested this arrangement and that there was never an expectation that he would pay the money back. In relation to the £14,000, he says that he offered to repay the £6,500 that was used to reimburse his staff member, but that offer was turned down. Well, it's just very damaging for the Conservatives to have this, as you say, string of sleaze scandals. The number of people that have now resigned, either from ministerial roles or as MPs altogether, the number of by-elections we've had in the current Parliament, it all adds up to a really damaging message for the Conservatives about whether they can be trusted in government and whether they can secure voters' trust when they go to the ballots, possibly only a few months' time. The transfer of money for the £14,000 it happened. It was signed off by the two Conservative members who were signatories on that campaign fund. As I say, accounts differ about who instigated that in terms of the idea that that be used for Mark's medical expenses. The £6,500 again was authorised by the account holders. So the money was given to a local business group that was set up by the MP. It's just a vehicle for supporters and local businesses and individuals to give money that will then be used for his campaigning expenses, for leaflets and things like that. And that's quite a common practice amongst MPs. So I've spoken to some of those who gave money to that fund, and they're very unhappy. This is not at all what they expected their money to be used for. They believe the police should investigate. They are extremely disappointed by Mark's actions. So the Chief Whip was first informed of these allegations right at the start of January of this year, and he spoke to the campaign manager, the former campaign manager at the centre of this. He's spoken to Mark, he's received evidence including bank statements. The whole matter has been transferred to CCHQ and they've had people who've spoken to those involved as well. That's all been dragging on now for 3.5 months. But no action was taken until we published the story on this yesterday, and then within 2 hours, Mark Menzies no longer had the whip pending the outcome of that Conservative Party investigation. It certainly raises questions that will be difficult for them. There's been a string of sleaze scandals. I'm sure the last thing Rishi Sunak wanted was another one, and certainly there'll be questions about whether they were deliberately trying to go slow to sort of brush it under the carpet and hope that it never saw the light of day. That's certainly a conclusion that the campaign manager has come to, according to what she's told friends. So we wait to see what happens in terms of the Conservative Party investigation. Mark Menzies has had the whip taken away in the meantime. Pending that outcome, we also wait to see what happens with the political developments, whether the pressure is going to force the Conservatives to give a clearer account of why they seem to have sat on their hands on this matter for so long. So Mark Menzies was a Cameron A-lister. He was being sort of fast-tracked for office within the party. He was a ministerial age soon after becoming an MP in 2010. And that trajectory really ended in 2014 when a Sunday newspaper published allegations that he'd paid for sex with a male escort and that he'd taken drugs and that he'd asked that escort to procure drugs. It's certainly possible that he stands down at the next election, or that there's a finding against him which requires him to resign, and if that happens soon enough, that could result in a by-election. There's an on-the-record statement from him. He disputes the allegations. The Conservatives have said that they can't comment while the investigation is ongoing.
Front page of the Times today, you will have read it. Mark Menzies under investigation after extraordinary claims. There are extraordinary claims about him using campaign funds to cover blackmail costs and medical bills. He called a 70-year-old volunteer at 3:15 in the morning to pay $6,500 from her savings account. I know he disputes this. This is a matter for investigation, which you're not going to be able to comment on. But the Conservative Party has known about this. They've known about this, Grant Shapps, since January. Why wasn't this acted upon in January?
So I'm afraid not over the detail of this as Defence Secretary, but I do know that further information came to light yesterday, and
the Times reported it. The Times reported, but it is clear in the story. Senior Tories, including Simon Hart, have been aware of the allegations against Menzies since January. So this is a question of your party's competence in dealing with a problem.
Well, I was going to say, my understanding is, forgive me, I'm not close to the detail, but my understanding is that there was some further information yesterday. I don't know precisely what that was. It led to a conversation in which the whip was removed, and this would be properly investigated. As you note, the MP concerned denies the allegations quite proper. There should be a proper investigation into it.
But that should have happened without the Times having to get involved. That's the question. The Times got involved, and the whip gets removed. This could have happened back in January.
But well, as I say, I mean, I think it's proper that the process is followed. It sounds to me that there is potentially somebody who's quite troubled in the mix here. So I don't want to sort of go further commenting on something I don't have all the details.
Okay.
But, just absolutely right that a process is properly followed and this has got to the bottom of.
After our Easter break from these sessions, we have returned to Groundhog Day. It might be a new term, but it's the same old story. More decent Conservative members announcing they're standing down. Treasury ministers hitting the airwaves, getting the numbers wrong. A weak Prime Minister who can't face down his own party, running scared of his own legislation and refusing to say how his cuts to national insurance will be funded. And the former Prime Minister still unable to show any contrition for her actions directly costing mortgage holders hundreds of pounds a month. Cabinet splits and rival factions all on open display, with ever more extreme positions and platforms taken, and yet more Tory sleaze and scandal. Today's revelations about the member for the Fylde are extraordinary, but they raise some very serious questions about the misuse of funds and the pressure put on others to facilitate it. Perhaps more importantly, also how these issues are handled by the Conservative Party. There's a worrying pattern here of cover-up and inaction. So can she shed some light? What and when did the Chief Whip, Prime Minister and Party Chairman know? Why did it take the publication of the story today for the whip to be removed? Has this matter been referred to the police? If not, why not? It seems that yet again, like with the member for Hazel Grove and so many other recent cases of sleaze and scandal, they're too weak to act decisively and instead choose to brush things under the carpet. The truth is, they've given up on governing. They've given up on winning the next election. It's all about saving their own skin and the inevitable leadership battle. I can tell her that we, on this side, have been there before, and it doesn't end well. The public don't easily forgive politicians who put party before country and don't focus relentlessly on fixing the problems they face.
The Honourable Lady mentioned some very serious allegations and other incidents that came to light during the course of the recess. These are very serious matters, and some of them are under police investigation. She wouldn't expect me to comment on that. But we take these matters very seriously.